I've been kidnapped. I couldn't help but cut in. Ask for more. How about 5 million? The kidnapper hesitated. I didn't want that much. I sighed. You don't even know the market rate. What kind of kidnapper are you? The kidnapper sounded a bit nervous. First time, no experience. Dude, you picked the wrong person. My dad is the local mafia boss, and I'm his only precious daughter. When I woke up, the man in front of me was wearing a black mask, revealing only a pair of not-so-smart eyes. He held my phone in his hand and asked gruffly, "What's the password?" 6289. I answered honestly. I really wanted to tell him that using my face would unlock it faster. After glancing around and noticing the ropes tying me up, I realized I must have been kidnapped right here in this bright, concrete factory building. The kidnapper rummaged through my contacts, found my dad's number, silently rehearsed his lines, and then dialed. "Your daughter is in my hands. Bring 500,000 to get her back." My dad was silent for a moment before asking again. "How much?" 50000. I couldn't help interrupting. "Ask for more. How about 5 million? The kidnapper hesitated. "Won't that be too much?" I didn't want that much. It's fine. My dad is filthy rich. After hanging up, I sighed. You don't even know the market rate. What kind of kidnapper are you? The kidnapper glanced at me guiltily, his voice so soft I could barely hear him. First time, no experience. TS, dude. Why did you have to pick me? My dad is the local mafia boss, and I'm his only precious daughter. Even he probably never imagined anyone would dare to kidnap me. My phone has a global GPS tracker. He's probably already on his way with his man. Sitting on the concrete floor, I tried to bond with the kidnapper. Big bro, of all the jobs out there, why did you choose this one? The kidnapper sat across from me, picked up a nearby beer to take a sip, but then realized he was still wearing his mask. After some thought, he ripped it off and took a big gulp. Little sister, Big Bro didn't want to do this either. Big Bro didn't look very smart, but he was quite handsome, thick eyebrows, big eyes. He must have been a real looker when he was younger. Before I could say anything, Big Bro started crying. Through his sobs, I learned the whole story. His wife had run off, taking all his savings and leaving him with a son who has congenital heart disease. His son was very sensible and mature. In high school, he started working part-time to help ease the family's burden. He did great on the college entrance exam, but his heart condition worsened, and he now urgently needed surgery. Big Bro was at his wit's end. He'd borrowed from everyone he could, but it still wasn't enough. In the end, he was forced down this path of no return. Little sister, consider this money a loan from me. If Yuanshin makes it through this, I'll definitely pay you back someday. The factory door was kicked open. My dad stormed in with a bunch of fierce-looking men, only to find me perfectly fine and even comforting the sobbing kidnapper beside me. He looked speechless. "Don't worry, uncle. I'll lend you the money." After we got back, my dad pointed at my nose and scolded. How did I end up with such a spendthrift daughter? I playfully wrapped my arms around his neck. "Oh, come on, my dear dad. Saving a life is worth more than building a 7-story pagoda." That uncle was so pitiful. And his son is too. He did so well on his exams he might even be one of our country's future hopes. Don't you like sponsoring college students too? I'm just following your example. My dad glared at me. Fine. I'll lend the money, but you have to go on this blind date. My face, which had been all smiles, instantly fell. I really don't understand. I'm only 23. Why is my dad forcing me to go on a blind date? And with some punk. What punk? That's your Uncle Kin's son. Uncle Kin and my dad are good friends, but Kim Yusin and I never got along. In the end, I couldn't win against my dad and went anyway. At the Kin family villa, Kim Yusin was lounging on the sofa with a girl on each side, one with short, chic hair and the other with long, gentle locks. Furuking, Kim Yusin got straight to the point. "I'm not going to get engaged to you. Don't get any ideas." The short-haired girl giggled, her eyes full of disdain as she fed Kim Yusin a grape. He raised one eyebrow smugly, taking the grape with a kiss, and looked at me with open provocation. I walked over to him, glanced at the grapes on the table, and asked, "Do you really like grapes? Then you should have them all." With that, I grabbed the whole plate and dumped it over his head. The grapes had just been washed and were still dripping. The two girls screamed and scrambled away. Kim Yusin's expression looked like he'd just eaten something disgusting. He practically spat my name out through gritted teeth. Fu. Ru. King. The veins on his forehead bulged. His chest heaving, he was absolutely livid. Then again, He'd probably never been humiliated like this in his life. The girls and the servants didn't dare to breathe. I smiled slightly and elegantly took a seat on the other side of the sofa. Any objections? You jerk. Setting the blind date at your own place and putting on this show. Who are you trying to mess with? Do you think I grew up eating bland food? Kim Yusin yelled for everyone to get out, and they scurried away without hesitation. I took a sip of the freshly served hot tea. Oh, so this is the Qin young master's manners? Qin Yusin looked like he was about to breathe fire. He was so angry his voice turned sharp. Fu Ruking, are you just here to cause trouble today? I nodded quickly. Yes. What are you going to do about it? Don't think I won't hit a woman, he said through clenched teeth. Go ahead and try. As soon as the words left my mouth, he charged at me with a fist. Did this guy really just try to hit a woman? I didn't hold back. I turned my palm into a fist and landed a solid punch on his right cheek. Honestly, Qin Yusin wasn't great at fighting, but he was strong. We were pretty evenly matched. In the end, Uncle Qin pulled us apart. My face was bruised, and Qin Yusin didn't look much better. His face was swollen and battered. Too scared to go straight home, I went to the hospital for some medicine and unexpectedly ran into the kidnapper uncle. Uncle was stunned for a moment before rushing over to grab my hand. Little sister, what happened? Who hit you? I turned away, embarrassed. I fell by accident. What are you doing here, uncle? My son is in the hospital. Then uncle dragged me to see his son. My son is really handsome. Believe me, little sister. The young man in the hospital bed had fair skin and delicate features. He was indeed good looking, though his lips were pale, making him look frail. Seeing a bowl of plain rice porridge on the nightstand, I immediately ordered one of my underlings to buy some nourishing food and fresh fruit. Uncle cried again, this time from gratitude. While I was comforting him, the young man woke up. Uncle pulled me to the bedside and introduced me to his son. This is your savior. What should I call you? I smiled. Just call me Ruru, the uncle grinned. Come on, Rudy, get up and count out one. Silence was tonight's Cambridge. The young man finally spoke softly. My name is Lu Yuanshin. Thank you, Ruji. His voice was low and pleasant, carrying a maturity beyond his years. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling on the soft tips of the young man's hair. Little did I know that a moment of soft-throatedness would actually save someone's life. Lu Yuanshin promised to repay the money and wrote me an IOU. He'd just graduated high school. How long would it take to pay back 500,000? I didn't give it much thought. But when I went with my girlfriends to sing at Night Charm, I ran into Lu Yuanshin working as a waiter. He was being blocked by two girls. Giving your contact info won't kill you. Yeah. Handsome. We've come here for you so many times. Lu Yuanshin's brows furrowed slightly. Patiently, he explained that he was just a waiter and didn't offer special services. The two girls giggled. Trying it once won't hurt. Once you try it, you'll love it. The young man's face instantly flushed red. I sighed and walked over, gripping the hand one of the girls was about to touch his face with. Do you think that jerk Qin Yusin knows you're playing so wild? Both girls were familiar faces, Qin Yusin's friends. After the girls left, I signaled for Lu Yuanshin to follow me to a private room. Xu Zhao nudged my arm. Who's this little brother? Since when did you start going for younger guys? I rolled my eyes. Get lost. Lu Yuanshin stood awkwardly to the side. Xu Zhao tactfully left the room. Does your dad know you're doing this? I asked. Yes. To pay me back faster? Yes. He was so serious and upright that I suddenly couldn't resist teasing him. Then you should offer special services. The money comes faster. Lu Yuanshin's ears turned red again. Ruji, I'm not here to sell my body. I took a sip of my drink. What if I spend 500,000 to buy just once? He grew even more flustered and indignant. Even in the dim lighting, I could see his face burning bright red. So I knew when to stop and laughed heartily. Just kidding. There's no rush with the money. Focus on doing well in college for now. You can pay me back when you're capable later. Just then, the door to the private room was suddenly kicked open. Qin Yusin swaggered in with the two girls from earlier. They went to tattle? Oh. Fu Ruking, since when did you start going for younger guys? His tone was utterly obnoxious. Say what you have to say, or get out. I didn't hold back. Qin Yusin sized up Lu Yuanshin a few times, then pushed the girls aside and plopped down next to me. He draped his left arm over my left shoulder and rested his head on my right shoulder, looking intimate. I just came to remind you our families are getting engaged. Don't pick up any diseases that you might pass on to me. I frowned. What engagement? Ah, I agreed to the engagement. We'll be discussing the date with your dad in a few days. A faint, mocking smile touched his eyes. Suddenly, I think being engaged to you could be pretty fun. You hate me, right? I'm going to make sure you have to see me every day from now on, huh? I gritted my teeth so hard they creaked. The next second, I grabbed a wine bottle from the table and smashed it against his head. Engage with your mother. The bottle shattered instantly. Blood trickled down Kinyusan's head. People rushed in from outside. The scene instantly turned chaotic as everyone scrambled to send Kinyusan to the hospital. Xu Zhao gave me a thumbs up and followed behind. I went to the bathroom to wash my hands. Afterward, I leaned against the corridor window to smoke. Lu Yuanchen stood silently behind me. Off work? I asked. He had changed back into casual clothes. He looked so clean and out of place here. A while later, when I'd smoked half my cigarette, he finally spoke. Don't get engaged to someone like that. He paused, then added, he doesn't deserve you. I turned around. Lu Yuanchen's expression was deadly serious. I couldn't help but find it amusing. I'm not as good as you think I am. You are. He insisted stubbornly. I turned back and took another deep drag. In life, there are many things we can't control. Like the arranged marriage with the Qin family. It was probably set in stone. Otherwise, Qin Yusen wouldn't have said what he did. Even though my dad dotes on me, he's been absolutely firm and unyielding about this. Recently, Qin Yusen had been visiting our house a lot. If he insisted, my dad wouldn't ask for my opinion. I really don't understand why my dad is so set on me marrying into the Qin family. It's not like we're short on money. What's he after? Can't you pick someone else? Lu Yuanchen suddenly asked. Who? I asked, puzzled. A night breeze rose, and the cigarette between my fingers burned out. I heard a low, deep voice behind me. Me. I beat Qin Yusen into the hospital. He got to stitches, and my dad was furious. Under the dim crystal chandelier, I knelt straight and tall. I'm going to die of anger because of you one day. I just don't want to get engaged to that jerk Qin Yusen. Even if you beat me to death, I won't marry him. My dad pointed at me. What's wrong with the Qin family? They're wealthy and influential. Sure, Qin Yusen is a troublemaker, but he promised me after the engagement, he won't fool around anymore. He'll listen to you. What more do you want? I can make my own money. I have my own house. What about him is satisfactory to me? I retorted. My dad threw a teacup at me. It grazed my face, drawing a little blood. He must have been really angry that was his favorite cup. I didn't dare argue anymore. I was afraid he'd have a stroke. I stood up and ran to him, patting his back to calm him down. Don't be angry. I was wrong. My dad glared at me, taking a long time to catch his breath. You will get engaged? Dad, are we really short on money lately? Why are you so determined to tie me to Qin Yusen? I looked utterly unwilling. Ruru, Dad is doing this for your own good. I would never harm you. You're already 23, it's time you had a future settled. I slowly massaged his shoulders, knowing he was dead set on me marrying Qin Yusen. Suddenly, my heart stirred as I remembered the gentle, clean look in that young man's eyes. How about switching to someone else? Who? What about Lu Yuanchen? Who's Lu Yuanchen? My dad looked confused. After having someone investigate, he wanted to hit me again. You'd go after a kid who just turned 18? I ought to beat you to death. In the end, my dad didn't beat me to death because I agreed to visit Qin Yusen in the hospital to show concern and cultivate feelings. At the hospital, that jerk Qin Yusen couldn't even stay put while hospitalized. When I pushed open the door to his room, I almost wanted to blind myself. Qin Yusen glared at me, displeased. What are you doing here? The girl on him hastily pulled on her clothes and bolted out. I slammed the fruit basket onto him. He gasped in pain. Fu King, don't go too far. I looked at him with a fake smile. Young Master Qin, you're about to get engaged, yet you're still playing around like this. Aren't you afraid I'll chop off that thing between your legs? You wouldn't dare. Honestly, I was a little afraid, but I had to keep up the act. Have you forgotten who my dad is? What did you promise him? Qin Yusen's fist clenched tightly beside the bed. He sneered coldly. What are you really here for today? To show concern, of course, and to get you to call off the engagement. Mentioning this seemed to energize him again. Haven't you heard a gentleman's word is as good as his bond? I narrowed my eyes and kicked the hospital bed hard. Qin Yusen, instead of getting angry, laughed. Fu King, I love seeing you look so pissed at me but unable to do anything about it. Why didn't I just send him to meet the king of hell with that wine bottle? What a miscalculation. When I'm unhappy, I like to go street racing. That kind of extreme sport makes my heart race and makes me feel alive. After racing, I saw a familiar, slender figure by the roadside, Lu Yuanchen. I pulled over next to him and rolled down the window. Where to? I asked. Home. I waved grandly. Get in. Big Sis will give you a ride. He stood there for a long time but finally obediently got in the car. What do you think about my proposal from last time? He suddenly asked halfway through the drive. I'd almost forgotten about that. Lu Yuanshin, what are you after? Money? Me as a person? Or feelings? I was genuinely confused. In the quiet, confined space of the car, he fell silent for a long time. Just as I thought he wouldn't answer, he said softly, "You practically saved my life. My dad taught me to repay kindness since I was little. I don't want you to spend your whole life married to someone you don't like. If you're with me, you won't be bound by anything. If you really have no other choice, I hope that person could be me. At least, you could live happily for the rest of your life." Naive. So naive. I turned to look at him. Just because of repaying a kindness? Not even a little bit of liking or attraction? He turned his head away, his tone stiff. No, but I clearly saw his reddened ears and his slightly clenched hands. I knew Lu Yuanshin's family was probably poor, but I didn't expect it to be this poor. A decrepit neighborhood of old low-rise buildings. His home was at the very end of a narrow alley. The alley was damp and had no streetlights. We could only vaguely make things out by moonlight. Unfamiliar with the path, I turned on my phone's flashlight and followed him carefully. He suddenly stopped and stared at my shoes. "What's wrong?" I asked. Lu Yuanshin lowered his eyes, his voice muffled. "Your shoes are dirty. I was wearing cream white canvas shoes today. They had splashes of mud, stark against the white surface. I'll just wash them when I get back," I said, not bothered. Lu Yuanshin didn't say a word. The next moment, his right arm wrapped around my waist and he lifted me into a horizontal carry. "The path isn't easy to walk, dirty and damp. I'll carry you." I was about to say something about propriety between men and women when he added softly, "Sorry for the offense, Ruji. If I said more, it would just make me seem uptight." The alley wasn't long, just a short stretch, but my face felt like it was on fire. It had been a long time since I'd been this close to a guy. I play around and have fun, but I never joke with real feelings. Yet the warm sensation at my waist coiled around my heart like vines, madly burrowing deep, making my heart itch. Lu Yuanshin's home was very small, 2 rooms and a living room about the same size as a room. The kitchen was partitioned off from the living room, so tiny only one person could stand in it. In 26 years, I never imagined people still lived in places like this. Lu Yuanshin stood awkwardly to the side, pointing at the only sofa in the living room for me to sit. The sofa was old but very clean. "Want some water?" he asked. 2 seconds later, he lowered his eyes, seeming somewhat embarrassed. "But it's only boiled tap water, not bottled drinking water. Water is water." "It's not that different," I said. Lu Yuanshin looked up, his eyes clear and bright. He quickly went to the kitchen and poured me a glass. It tasted slightly different, but not by much. "How long have you lived here?" I asked, trying to make conversation. Lu Yuanshin thought for a few minutes before slowly saying, 15 years. Your mom ran off with someone else when you were 3. As soon as the words left my mouth, I realized they were inappropriate. Lu Yuanshin didn't seem to mind. He pursed his lips into a faint smile. "No, she left before I turned 1. She was young and pretty. When she married my dad, people said they were a perfect match. But after having me, she realized she didn't want to be a mother. She hadn't had enough fun. She wanted freedom. So she left." "Do you hate her?" No, Lu Yuanshin's voice was very soft. "Why would I waste energy hating someone who means nothing to me? Who would have thought uncle, who didn't seem like much, raised such a sensible son who understood right from wrong?" I was about to praise him when Lu Yuanshin took out a stack of money from his bag and handed it to me. "School's starting soon. I won't be able to work part-time anymore. Here's 10,000 to pay you back first. I'll slowly repay the rest." I didn't take it. Instead, I picked up his phone from the table and transferred 20,000 to him. "Lu Yuanshin, starting today, I'll cover your tuition for all 4 years of university. After you graduate, come help me manage the company." I smiled. Without a salary, Lu Yuanshin's clear, bright eyes gradually grew deeper. After a long while, he softly replied, "Okay." On the day Kim Yusun was discharged from the hospital, my dad forced me to pick him up for dinner at our home. After the meal, he called us both to his study to discuss the engagement. This time, I didn't refuse for once. My dad thought I'd changed my mind and smiled so hard his eyes became slits. Kim Yusun promised to take good care of me but flashed an utterly contemptuous smirk where my dad couldn't see. I admired my freshly done nails, thinking about how to make him look like a fool during the engagement party. The engagement party date was quickly set. Almost everyone in the capital's social circles knew our family was engaged to the Kins. His family had power. My family had money. From now on, we'd have influence everywhere. Even a dog passing by would get kicked twice. Xu Zhao asked me if I was crazy, actually going through with the engagement to Qin Yusen. I joked that he wasn't so bad after all. After saying that, Xu Zhao's eyes looked past me. She put on a look of watching a good show. Oh, here comes the love debt. I turned around. Lu Yuanchen stood there quietly, his dark eyes showing no ripples. I'd only brought him to Xu Zhao's bar once. Who knew he'd remember so well? Ru Xu Zhao whispered mischievously in my ear, the boat's capsizing. After Xu Zhao left, I waved for Lu Yuanchen to come over. He obediently walked over and stood quietly beside me. I shook my glass and asked if he wanted a drink. He shook his head and softly asked, "Are you really going to marry him?" "Yes." He lowered his eyes, hiding the disappointment in them. "Then, congratulations." With that, he took the poured drink from my table and downed it in one go. He started coughing violently, his eyes turning red from coughing, yet the corners of his mouth lifted. Happy engagement. My heart suddenly grew restless and irritable. I grabbed Lu Yuanchen's hand and with a bit of force, pulled him down onto the sofa next to me. I don't like him. This engagement is a farce. A show I'm putting on for him. Though I didn't understand why I was explaining this to him. When Xu Zhao asked, I just brushed it off with a joke. But seeing the sudden brightness in the young man's eyes, I felt it didn't matter anymore. He softly said something, but it was too noisy around us. I didn't catch it. I leaned closer. "What did you say?" I said. "Then does big sister like me?" He repeated. Then he lowered his gaze and slowly pressed a kiss to the corner of my mouth. I froze in place. I must be drunk. No, he was drunk. On the day of the engagement party, most of the capital's social circles showed up. The congratulations were fake. Networking was real. I figured the only truly happy person was my dad. He grinned from ear to ear, beaming at everyone. I couldn't be bothered to fake a smile and sat alone in a corner drinking gloomily. But some people just wouldn't let me have my peace, gossiping behind my back where I could hear. Fu Ruking's really lucky to marry into the Qin family. The Qins are influential and well-respected. Who knows what the Fu family did to deserve this? Seems like a bit of a reach. She's probably forgotten how the Fu family got their start. After clinging to the Qins, they'll be even more untouchable. Who knows what young Master Qin is thinking? I hear he hasn't been racing or chasing girls lately. Has he really settled down? Pfft. A sharp voice chimed in. Don't you know what young Master Qin is like? My guess is Fu Ruking is just really good in bed. I couldn't listen anymore. I stood up, grabbed a bottle of red wine from the table, found the woman who said I was good in bed, and poured the entire bottle over her head. The red wine snaked down her clothes, a truly pathetic sight. Her shriek attracted the attention of the entire hall. I tossed the empty bottle aside, my eyes filled with contempt. What kind of lowlife are you, daring to judge me? Qin Yusen walked over and asked me what was going on. The woman put away her gritted teeth expression and put on a pitiful act, hiding behind Qin Yusen. Young Master Qin, I didn't say anything, but Miss Fu poured wine all over me. Qin Yusen turned to look at me, his brows slightly furrowed. Only someone like Qin Yusen, whose head was full of women and crap, would fall for that nonsense. Qin Yusen didn't speak. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see how this farce would end. In the end, Uncle Qin came out to speak, and the crowd scattered like birds and beasts. Qin Yusen whispered a threat in my ear. There are a lot of people here today. Don't cause any trouble. I nodded obediently, nearly laughing out loud inside. My big gift hasn't even been delivered yet, big bro. Just as the engagement ceremony was about to begin, the front hall doors were pushed open. A girl with a clearly pregnant belly walked in. In tears, she asked Qin Yusen, word by word, "Are you trying to abandon me?" Or, she touched her belly, "Can you even abandon your own flesh and blood?" The entire hall erupted in whispers. Qin Yusen's reputation was practically an open secret in these circles. But this was the first time a pregnant girl he'd apparently dumped showed up at his engagement. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Qin Yusen glared at her. The girl could barely stand. So all those promises about marrying me were lies? Qin Yusen's face turned pale, then paler. As everyone was absorbed in the drama, Uncle Qin's cane swung hard at Qin Yusen's legs. You worthless brat. Then he ordered people to escort the girl out. On stage, he apologized. This is all a misunderstanding. Ever since the engagement date was set, Our Yusin has hardly gone out. Today is a joyous occasion. Everyone, please don't let these misunderstandings spoil your mood. He turned to my dad. I think we should complete the ceremony first. What do you think, in-law? Calling him in-law already. And we're not even engaged yet. I rolled my eyes. My dad pondered for a moment. Good things take time. We're in no rush. Old brother Kin, perhaps you should handle your son's private matters first. The banquet ended unhappily, and this became a laughingstock in our circles. My dad didn't leave his study for days. After Kin Yusin was discharged, Uncle Kin invited our family for a meal. At the table, Uncle Kin expressed his apologies. My dad remained cold-faced and unmoved. In-law, I looked into it afterward. That girl was maliciously arranged by someone with ill intentions. I gave her some money. She promised to get an abortion and will have no further contact with Yusin. So, about the banquet, when should we reschedule? My dad was silent for a long while. Don't reschedule. Our Ruru isn't worthy enough for your family. Uncle Kin's face immediately fell. He glared viciously at Kin Yusin, who didn't even dare to eat anymore, sitting up perfectly straight. I poked at the greens in my bowl, hiding the smile at the corner of my mouth. I was the one who arranged the girl. I was the one who invited everyone to watch the show. My dad already knew Kin Yusin had a bad reputation and played around. He used to turn a blind eye, but now someone was literally shitting on his head. How could he keep tolerating it? Leaving the Kin family villa, I was in an incredibly good mood. My dad glanced sideways at me. With your simple, scheming mind, if I weren't cleaning up after you, your Uncle Kin would have found out long ago. When did you find out? I asked, somewhat guilty. You're my daughter. Is there anything about you I don't know? Forget it. He sighed. I can't be bothered to deal with you anymore. I hugged his neck and gave his cheek a big kiss. You're the best. I didn't go back with him. Instead, I called a car to go to Lu Yuanshan's university. He must have just come from the basketball court, wearing his jersey drenched in sweat. He ran over. The hem of his clothes fluttered in the wind. His brows and eyes were full of smiles, bright and clean. What are you doing here? His voice was full of surprise. I reached out and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Keep your evening free. I'll treat you to a feast. Lu Yuanshan's eyes curved. Okay. I'll wait for you. But the wait never came. My dad got into a car accident on his way home. By the time the ambulance arrived, there was no sign of life. He died on the spot. When I heard the news, I was at Xu Zhao's bar. My vision suddenly went dark, and I could barely stand. An immense wave of grief suddenly crashed over me. I opened my mouth but couldn't make a sound. By the time I rushed to the hospital, I didn't even get to see him one last time. He was covered with a white sheet, lying in the morgue. Through the glass, I cried without making a sound. It felt like someone had crushed my heart into shards of broken glass. A huge stone will slowly rolled over it, agonizing and bloody. I kept regretting. Kept blaming myself. Why didn't I go back with him? The crash seemed deliberately arranged. The driver crashed with the determination to die, leaving himself no way out. My eyes turned bloodshot, and I clenched my teeth. Investigate. I ordered Uncle Liu. I stayed in my dad's room for 2 days. On the 3rd day, I couldn't hold on and fainted. Lu Yuanshan called just as I woke up. I hung up, but then I heard the housekeeper's voice. Miss, there's a young man outside who's been calling your name. Outside. A violent storm raged, pouring rain. Had Lu Yuanshan gone crazy? I threw on a coat and went downstairs. Outside the gate, Lu Yuanshan was completely drenched. He stood in the heavy rain, looking at me with deep, solemn eyes. We gazed at each other for a long time. Lu Yuanshan let out a soft sigh, walked over, and pulled me into his arms. Are you okay? That one sentence broke down all my defenses. I dropped my umbrella and sobbed loudly in the pouring rain. Lu Yuanshan, I don't have a dad anymore. I'll never have a dad again. The sadness and pain seemed to seep out from my very bones, pressing down on me until I could hardly breathe. Lu Yuanshan's arms tightened around me. The young man's thin frame, his burning embrace, became the only thing that could comfort me, the only warmth in that cold, rainy night. My memories afterward are blurry. I vaguely remember Lu Yuanshan carrying me into the villa, the housekeeper making a call, and then hearing the sound of an ambulance. Then I saw my dad. He looked like he did in his youthful, spirited days, sitting on a roller coaster, smiling and asking if I wanted to join him. I ran over, happily reaching out my hand, but then I heard someone calling my name from behind. Fu Ruking! It was a young man I didn't recognize. He was quite good-looking, very thin. The wind billowed his clothes. His brows were full of worry. During those few seconds I hesitated, The roller coaster started. My dad's figure gradually disappeared into the distance. A soft sigh carried on the wind. Ruru, take care of yourself. When I woke up, what met my eyes was a snow-white ceiling. A pair of hands gently brushed away the tears at the corners of my eyes. It was Lu Yuanshin. I must have had a fever. My head felt heavy and muddled. I'd been caught in the heavy rain and cried, my voice hoarse. The housekeeper brought some cooked millet porridge. Lu Yuanshin sat by the bed, carefully feeding me spoonful by spoonful. His bangs lay softly on his forehead, making him look especially gentle. Lu Yuanshin, I called him hoarsely. He looked up. I said, don't come find me anymore. The hospital room became extremely quiet, only the sound of the curtains rustling in the wind. He lowered his eyes, his Adam's apple bobbed, his eyelashes trembled slightly, and his fingers gripping the spoon turned white. Do you really not want me anymore? It felt like something was stuck in my throat. I couldn't say a word. Xu Zhao pushed the door open and came in. Lu Yuanshin stubbornly remained seated, staring intently into my eyes. After calming the turbulence and emotions inside me, I looked up at him. Yes, I don't want you anymore. My voice sounded like it was coated in ice. The emotion in his eyes trembled violently. His eye rims gradually turned red. Finally, he pursed his lips and forced out a single word with difficulty. Okay. After Lu Yuanshin left, Xu Zhao covered my hand with hers. No regrets. I lowered my gaze, hiding all emotion in my eyes. Once the move is made, there are no regrets. On the day of the funeral, a light rain fell. I stood before my dad's tombstone in a black dress. There was no division of property. He left everything to me. The sky was gray, just like my heart. I let go of the umbrella, allowing the cold rain to pelt my face and body. It was a chill that seeped into every bone and sinew. Xu Zhao tilted her umbrella toward me. I looked at her with red eyes. In her pupils, I saw my own reflection. Within them was endless sorrow and desolation. My dad's death was no accident. It was deliberate. The Qin family had long coveted our family's wealth. When my dad proposed a marriage alliance, Qin Yusen was unwilling, but under his father's pressure, he had to comply. That's why, back then, he clearly despised me so much yet still agreed to the engagement. By sheer coincidence, my original plan was just to humiliate Qin Yusen by inviting that pregnant girl. Who knew it would disrupt their scheme? They tried hard to cover it up, just wanting to quickly secure the engagement. But this also caught my dad's attention. The days he locked himself in his study, he was actually investigating the Qin family. On the surface, they appeared glorious and influential, but behind the scenes, they were already in decline. They desperately needed to leverage our family's power to stabilize their own family's financial collapse. This was a fiery pit. Of course, my dad didn't want me to jump into it. Who would have thought the Qin family, seeing no other way out, would decide to directly finish us off with a car crash? The banquet had ended unhappily, but many witnesses confirmed we had engagement intentions with the Qin family. If my dad and I died, and our family had no other relatives and no will, the Qin family, relying on their close relationship with ours and the near engagement, could seize our assets. How many in the capital circles would dare to speak up? Unfortunately for them, despite all their calculations, they didn't count on me not getting in the car. When Uncle Liu told me what he'd uncovered, I felt the hatred in my heart verge on madness. I would make them pay. I spent 4 years completely monopolizing all of the Qin family's businesses, hollowing them out until they were just an empty shell. When Qin Yusen came to find me again, he had long lost his former arrogance. He was like a stray dog, humbly begging me to give them a way out. I pinched the unextinguished cigarette butt with my fingers, looking at him mockingly. What gives you the right to beg me? Qin Yusen slowly knelt down, his voice trembling. I'm begging you. A wave of inexplicable fury ignited in my chest. It was them who coveted our family's wealth first, harmed my dad afterward, and now they were acting like victims, pitifully and humbly begging me. Why? When you faked that car crash, did you have even a shred of mercy to give us a way out? Qin Yusen's eyes widened suddenly. The hand hanging at his side trembled slightly. Scared now? Too late. The law would judge them. My job was to send them to the police station. On the day the Qin father and son were brought to justice, I told Xu Zhao everything. She gave me a heartbroken hug. I can understand you wanting revenge, but why did you have to cut ties with Lu Yuanshin back then? He wouldn't have been in your way. Hearing that name, my throat tightened slightly. Lu Yuanshin, I smiled. He's clean and bright, This path is dark and sinister. I could barely walk it steadily myself. How could I let him stay by my side? A young man should be like the unconstrained wind. It's enough that I walk this path alone. The wind blows from afar and also passes by. On my 27th birthday, I sang a song called One Person Thinking of Another by Penny Sang at Shijiao's bar. My gaze fell on a familiar, slender figure in the audience. The song abruptly stopped at the line, one person thinking of another. At the corner booth, I looked at the young man before me. He was no longer the frail boy from my memory. He had grown taller, his shoulders broader. Having weathered the passage of time and life's experiences, the once clean and spirited young man had become more steady and reserved. The only thing unchanged was his eyes. When he looked at me, they were always warm. "Have you been well?" I broke the silence first. Lu Yuanshan nodded. "Thanks to you, I never lacked for money, so I didn't need to work part-time. My studies were completed very successfully." I'd forgotten I'd given him 20,000. "Graduated? Found a job yet?" "Still looking. But I remember someone once said she wanted me to work for free at her company after graduation." "I think I did say that." "That was a joke. Don't take it seriously," I said, brushing it off. Lu Yuanshan's eyes darkened. I took it seriously. My fingers paused slightly. The withered vines in my heart suddenly came back to life, growing wildly. Xu Zhao chose that moment to bring over a bottle of wine. "Drink boldly. Today's expenses are on me." I poured a glass and offered it to him. "Want some?" He didn't speak, just kept looking at me. I poured another glass for myself, drank half, and murmured, "It's really good. Don't you want to try?" Lu Yuanshan took my glass, set it down, then leaned in, wrapped his arm around my waist, and pressed his lips to mine. It was a light, fleeting kiss, but my heart, which had been still for 4 years, felt like a huge stone had been thrown into it, sending ripples outward, one circle after another. "It is good," he said. His voice was low and slow, carrying a fatal allure and sensuality. I must have been drunk. Otherwise, why would I have wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him again? Warm, with a hint of wine flavor, entrancing, dizzying. A young man's feelings are scorching and burning. They landed on my 23-year-old heart. On my 27th birthday, they came roaring back at me again. I couldn't escape. Couldn't avoid it. Shizhao later told me that over those 4 years, Lu Yuanshan always asked her about my news: good, bad, sad, happy. At first, I thought he was after your money. Later, I realized he must have genuinely liked you. "Do you remember? 2 years ago, your company's stocks plummeted. You were so stressed you ended up in the hospital. The first night, it was Lu Yuanshan who took care of you. 2 years ago, stock market turbulence threw the company into chaos. I didn't sleep for days and finally fainted and was hospitalized. Even in my dreams, I was anxious and restless. I vaguely remember someone gently patting my hand all night long. At dawn, a soft kiss was planted on my forehead. I struggled to open my eyes but only saw a retreating back that looked like Lu Yuanshan. I thought I was going crazy. Turns out it really was him, staying with me all night. All these years, I gave you 2 birthday gifts, saying one was from your dad. Actually, they were all from Lu Yuanshan." Ruru. Shizhao hugged my shoulders. "If you ended up with Lu Yuanshan, that would be really nice." On my 28th birthday, I took Lu Yuanshan to my dad's gravesite. It seems every time I visit my dad, it's drizzling. I knelt before the tombstone, tracing the black and white photo, and whispered, "Dad, I'm getting married to Lu Yuanshan, the one you called that kid who just turned 18. He can stand on his own now. Like you, he can shelter me from the storm. Dad, visit my dream tonight. I miss you." Lu Yuanshan bowed deeply. Then, holding an umbrella, he reached for my hand to leave. The rain suddenly stopped. Sunlight burst forth, gilding the tombstone with a golden edge. I stood there in a daze for a long time, tears silently rolling down. "He must have heard," I said. Lu Yuanshan gently wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. He must have heard."